Talking real estate, thanks to Honda's new 36V domestic battery range, a force for nature.
Yeah, Rob Jewett, the principal, First National Jewett Saunders. G'day, Rob.
G'day, Jamie.
Hey, talking numbers today.
Yes, I thought, it's a bit wet and wild out there, and your listeners just love to have a really good analysis of real estate statistics, all that interesting stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get the Excel spreadsheet
We'll try and
out.
make it interesting.
All right. Where's the median house price sitting? I mean, it's interesting because there's so much, there's a few different data points that we look at for this. What's the takeaway?
Well, I think it's just important, and as First National Aid, it's important that people understand that there are different commentators when it comes to property prices.
Yeah.
So it can be really confusing because you'll see a headline in the news that says, median house price in Perth hits 852,000. And then a week later, there'll be a commentary and it says, REWA says median house price is 665. And then in between, you've had all this talk about how prices have gone up. People go, wait a minute, I thought it didn't go down, surely. Different data, different commentator. There's basically about four main commentators that talk about property prices across Australia. And, of course, we're mostly concerned with property prices in Perth. I suppose the main one that we use would be REWA, rewa.com. And they do it based on a simple median. So it's not the average of sale prices. It's, we just get 100 sales and add it all up and divide it by 100. If there's 100 sales in a suburb, it'll be the 50th sale as a median house price. So the idea of that is just if there's a skewing of high-priced properties for a particular time, it'll sort of smooth that out a bit more than the average. But REWA, when we look at the data for, say, 30 June, and it's interesting because REWA says the median house price is 665. Whereas if you look at Domain, who use Australian property monitors, they use a different median methodology. They're saying the median house price in Perth is 850-odd thousand. It's
a pretty significant difference, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And realestate.com, who use PropTrack in Sydney, saying it's 713. And then CoreLogic, who are probably the biggest data, they are the biggest data producers of property in Australia, who use RP data and come out of the East Coast, they're saying it's 757. So we've got everything from 665 to 852. So I guess it's just to educate people to know, well, wait a minute, when you see a figure, okay, who is it who's saying it? And it's really a comparative thing. Well, what was it said before? For example, REWA's median house price is 665 now. 5 years ago, it was 475. So, we know that prices have gone up. The other interesting thing is just the annual change as well, because it all depends on what data they're using. So REWA says that we've seen a median house price increase in Perth of just under 20%, 18.8%, whereas the other three commentators are more around the 22, 23%. But, of course, it depends on what data they're pulling out. They all use similar data from Landgate, our central government office, but it's how they manipulate it and use it. So it's just so people are aware that there are differences, and that's the reason for a little bit of the confusion out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's different ways of going about it. So that methodology is quite similar. It's just the data that's inputted that's a little bit different, Rob. So in terms of just...
different.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was going to get you to describe the methodology from CoreLogic, the hedonic index. No, I'm just joking. I wouldn't be able to describe it. It's really quite, I think I only just passed statistics at uni when I studied. I still don't fully understand it, but I think that's what CoreLogic uses. They use a hedonic index, which is like using attributes of properties and then using that to generate values, which is very different from a more simplified method, which is just, okay, we've got 100 sales in that suburb over a year, and the median of those sales, the middle sale is the sale. So there's no perfect way. They just manipulate the data differently, so it gives different information. Not that it's wrong, any of them are wrong or any of them are perfect. It's just how they go about doing it in a different way. And I guess it's just a little bit of understanding around that gives a context to people to understand, well, okay, that's why it's different, because it's a different reporter and they're using the data and they're analysing different aspects of the data. Yeah. So there's no perfect system. It's all the relative data of it is what's really important. For example, the REWA.com measure of the number of properties on market. This week it was 3,286. Same time last year it was 5,272. clearly we're in a seller's market because there's, stock's gone down. So it's a good relative measure.
Hey, Rob, you were saying that maybe it's just a bit of a winter thing where there's been just anecdotally a few less people at home open, still people turning up, but,
Yes.
Just dropping off a little bit. What are we seeing in terms of the sales numbers, though? Have they remained consistent?
Yes, they've remained consistent. And interestingly, latest Freeway figures still showing 8 days average days on market,
Right.
which is still the lowest on record. That's been fairly consistent over the last couple of months. So they're still going out the door as quick as they're coming in. It's just anecdotally, I could say that on the ground as a First National agent, we're going, wait a minute, there seems to be less people out there. I had a red hot listing in Scarborough that I reckon I would have had 10 offers and 50 people through the first week. 4 or 6 weeks ago, I had about 20 people through. In the end, I had 2 offers. We still got the top money for it, good money for it, fair price, but just not the same level of activity. And I think that's just a seasonal factor, Perth people hibernating a bit because it's a bit cold and wet.
Yeah, today in particular. Hey, Rob, good to have a chat to you. Where are you at about to today?
Well, I've got an easy day today. I'm taking it a bit easy because I'm victim of my own success, sold all my active stock. I've got a heap of good stuff coming out, but it's nice to have a day off and catch up on some other bits and pieces.
Enjoy it. Well, thanks for still touching base with us today. Appreciate it. I'll catch you next week, Rob. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
All right, Rob Jewett there, Principal of First National, Jewett Saunders. Have a chat to him every week. Little snapshot of property. It's interesting there, isn't it, when you look at the median house price, and he's bang on. There's about 4 or so that do it, and there is a significant difference, and it comes down to that methodology. Rob's point, just make sure you're comparing apples with apples. That year on year, I reckon, is always a good one to track movement too. Okay, we're going to come back in a moment.